got to keep doing stuff that you love so it doesn't like feel like work all the time. Like people are saying like, why are you still here? Why do you stay after school? Why do you do this activity? Like you ain't tired of this place? Like you're always here. And it's because it feels like home.
Yes.
When you can go to work and feel like you're at home, where you can have a long day, there's something special about the cup not ever fully empty.
Welcome to the Just a Decision podcast, where we speak to our guests about the decisions they made in life, the good, the bad, the regrets, the decisions they're currently making, and the decisions they're gonna make for the future. Subscribe, like, comment on the video, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. And remember, we're available on all streaming platforms. Today, we have one of my favorite people ever, Mr. Dennis Nelson. I know you as Nook. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good.
I appreciate you coming out, man. I'm excited because we've been to I met you in 2006, 2007. Freshman year, sophomore year of getting into Urban Promise. All right, we're just going to get some nervous questions out the way.
All right.
What's your favorite food and from where?
My favorite food is lasagna, and I prefer it to be homemade.
Ooh, I know you're a master chef, but is there someone that makes it better than you?
I like my own, but Danielle makes a good lasagna too.
Shout out to Danielle. She gonna be mad at that part.
She definitely is.
Someone gives you a blank check. Whatever number you write on it is cash in tomorrow in the bank account. Check-ins, not savings. What's the first thing you spend it on?
Student loans comes to mind first.
Student loans, okay. Everybody going to pay some student loans. So going as far back as you can remember, what's one of the first decisions you've made in life? So example, your mom saying, don't eat that candy, and you ate that candy. Or anything that you can recall.
So an old decision.
As early as you can remember.
It would have to be like what I was going to wear to school.
Okay.
Like, starting at Camden Forward.
Okay.
Starting at Urban, like what I was going to wear to school. We had to wear a uniform. But
yeah.
Like, am I going to wear these shoes or these shoes?
Okay.
What's going to be different?
Yeah.
As I compare myself to other people, like, okay, I want to wear this shoe instead of this one because everybody's going to have on dress shoes.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
That's a good point, Camden Forward. How was it going to private school? Is there any memories did you go there with anybody or did all your cousins go to public school?
Most of my family all went to public school. So
okay.
I remember really wanting to go to public school. I'm like, man, I want to go there. Everybody else is going to public school. Let me go there. I'm like, no, you're going there. And I think that was just them trying to give me a better shot.
Yeah.
Because like where I'm from, everybody went to Bonzo. And I'm like, I'll see all of them when I get home from school. Yeah. And everybody talking about what they did at school and how fun it was. And I'm like, there's like 10 people in my class. Like, we don't have those same experiences. But one of my cousins did go to Camden Forward, Larry. He went to Camden Forward. That's how my mom heard about it.
Okay.
But it was cool. It was cool. Like, I wanted to go to different schools, but I understand why they put me in that one.
Yeah. And then did you go there your whole elementary?
Yeah, I was there from kindergarten until I graduated 8th grade.
Wow. So thinking about it now, do you still wish you would have went to public school, or do you feel as though that pathway of private school was a better option?
I would like to think that I probably would have. I would have been decent, regardless of what school I went to. So no, I'm fine with having gone to Camden Forward.
Cool. Is there any teacher that you could remember from kindergarten to 8th grade that like resonated with you?
Mr. King is the GOAT.
Okay.
He is a bishop now, I believe.
Okay.
He was just one of those male figures, just like I didn't even know I was looking up to this guy just because of like how he commands a room, his presence, and just the way he conducts himself. It just makes like any little kid, adult, grown man, you're just like, dang, this guy's really like got it going on. And just like his love for Christ and things like that. It was just like, he was like my first example of like a God-fearing black man.
Gotcha.
So as a kid, I didn't even know that I was looking up to him. And then like even now, thinking about like the interactions that we have now, like when I see him, like it's all love. And it's like, I've loved this guy since I was a little kid. And I still feel the same way.
That's awesome.
He's mad dope.
Any quotes or any memories that resonated with him?
I don't know about anything in particular because when I first had him as a teacher, I was in like 1st grade. I remember the feeling of like, don't be ashamed to like be who you are or to, if you are someone who loves God, like that should be something that you're okay with letting people know. So that I think he led with his love of God. So just like whatever it is that you love, like that's what you should lead with.
Gotcha. So I ain't gonna talk about what you do now, but In elementary school, was he one of the only male teachers, or that you can recall, or was there more than just him?
I might have had like 3.
Okay.
He was just the first one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because going through elementary school is very rare thinking about them.
Yeah.
You might have a male substitute teacher that came in trying to get a couple dollars in college or whatever, but it's mostly females, and then Caucasian females. So that was cool having that male figure where if your dad's not there, there's a male there, you were like, I can't get away with this today.
Right.
Yeah,
He'd
cool.
be on you.
Yep. How was it wearing a uniform?
I guess since I started so young, like it didn't bother me.
Okay.
Like it was kindergarten, so it was like, well, I wore a uniform in kindergarten. I wore it all the way up to 8th grade. I think once I got to like 5th, 6th grade, I'm like, wait, everybody else is like still wearing regular clothes. Like we gotta wear a tie.
Yes.
So it was annoying, but it was all I knew.
Yeah, the only thing that changed was the short sleeve to long sleeve.
Yep.
Yeah, because I went to Martin Luther Christian School, so it's like right down the highway or down the street from Camden Forward. Cool. So that was elementary. Let's go to 8th grade to 9th grade. Okay. How was that transition of what school were you going to?
I was at Camden Forward still, 8th grade, and then high school I went to Penn Tech.
Okay. So how was that transition of going to a private school where there's a certain amount of group of people and then going to a public school where it's like everybody's going there?
It was dope.
Okay.
I think I was already ready. I'm like, man, I'm ready to be around some more people. Like gotcha. I was already super social, and it was just like I was just like in this bubble. So it was like it's time to take high school by storm. So I was super excited to get to a bigger school, but then also just like have different experiences. I felt like my school years were almost exactly the same every year, just because it's the same teachers, the same kids, like everything was the same. So I was just ready to be able to like change classes and things like that. So great transition.
Okay. Did you know anybody? Like, did anybody follow you with Camden Forward, or is like you and
I went? Kevin and Haas both went. So they were my childhood friends at Camden Forward, and then we all ended up going to Penn Tech. Kevin and I graduated from there. Haas ended up coming back. I think he graduated from UPA. Okay.
Let's take a moment of silence. Rest in peace, Haasi.
Both my guys, Kevin too.
Oh, okay. So high school, that transition was good. It flowed. You had people there. That was a shop school, right? You had to focus on a major. What was your major?
So it's business tech is like the overarching major, but then you have to like pick a specific career to go into. So I was in legal assisting.
Okay. What made you pick that?
At the time, I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay. That's it. Okay. Is there any impact that made you like, oh, I'm gonna be a lawyer, this is what I want to do?
I don't know. It was just like
sounded good.
It was just sound good, and then like I kind of established it as a kid, so it was just like I always said I'm gonna be a lawyer, so I guess that's what I'm doing. I don't even know much about them, but I want to be one. Yeah. And then when I got to high school, I'm like, there's an opportunity to go into the legal field, so like, let's try it out.
Cool. So I never went to a technical school. Mm-hmm. How's your day with the ordinary public school? You're going to class to class to class. Yeah. How do they? What's the word I'm looking for? Integrate regular schooling with your focus.
Yeah, so you would of course have like all of your basic classes, math, history, science, ELA, but then there's 3 periods of the day that you were in your shop. So like my schedule freshman year, I was in BT with business tech. Okay. From first period all the way through 3rd period, and then like 4th period I had lunch, and then I had all my regular classes after that.
Gotcha.
But it was different for different people. But usually you have 3 periods of shop a day.
Okay. Is there any teacher throughout high school that stuck with you and was like?
I think I was just moving around a lot in high school. I don't think I like built super strong relationships with them. Like they were cool, but it wasn't like it was at the other school where I've known these people for 10 years. It was just like a lot of moving parts. So I was like in classes, like trying to do well, but it wasn't like I was staying after school, hanging out or talking with anybody. Mm-hmm. So I was cool with my teachers, but it wasn't anybody that was like super close to.
So you were just gathering information. Yeah. Do what I gotta do. See y'all later. Yeah. Sort of that. Do your 8 time to skate.
Yeah, I'm out.
Okay. So was there any classes that stuck out where? Because I know when you're learning something, there might be a phase where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. Could you change your shop?
You could change freshman or sophomore year. You have to do at least 3 years in your shop. Okay. So if you didn't have it figured out by sophomore year, you would have to stay in the one that you were in.
Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of them were for like certifications or different things like that. So if you weren't doing the 3-year program, then you weren't going to finish.
So was there a time where you like, I didn't want this, or you were comfortable with knowing what you wanted to do all 4 years of high school?
I was okay with staying in it.
Okay.
By senior year, or probably even junior year, I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to do this. Like,
Okay.
I'm probably going to get out of this joint.
But you already invested.
Yeah, I was in it, like, and it was a great experience.
Okay.
Like, it was a great experience, but I knew by junior year, like, yeah, I'm definitely not going to be a lawyer. I'm not going to be a paralegal. I'm not going to be doing anything in this field. But you know, I'll be able to see it through.
Did you have to do any like I guess internships in the high school with the?
You didn't have to, but the school has certain connections with like businesses or even like former students that had become lawyers or paralegals and things like that. So if you like got to senior year and wanted to do an internship or wanted to like go somewhere like because you were going into that profession, like they connect you with those people and you'd be able to. But again, like I didn't want to, so there was no need for me to go intern with anybody when I have no plan to be a part of the legal profession at all.
Cool. So you said you didn't stay after school. None of that.
No, if it wasn't for like talent show or something, like I wasn't staying.
All right, cool. So I want to, I guess, go into where we met. Was it was during high school, but how'd you get involved with Urban Promise? Was it the Camden Forward School?
Camden Forward School was my first like intro to Urban Promise, but I was just like a student. I wasn't like going to like all the after school programs, things like that. I think I might have went for like a year or two on and off just because like, okay, like let me just see what it's about. My mom's like, you want to go to that? Like we could just pick you up. I'm like, yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
So that was just more so just to like hang out with people because school was over.
Yeah.
So I went to like the after school programs and things like that for a little bit. In the summertime, if I'm staying at Richard House, like I'd go to camp with him.
Okay.
So like I had some like camp and after school experiences just because like I was going when I wanted to, but I had never like gone like full out for a year, or like some people have been camp kids forever.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of them. I was like on and off, hit or miss. So that was like my intro. So then I was trying to get away from Urban Promise.
Okay.
So I'm like, I've been here from kindergarten through 8th grade, so like I'm not trying to stay here.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I guess I could like work the program. Like you can't really get another job when you're like 14. So like why not? So after like once I got to Penn Tech freshman year, that summer came and I was like, okay, let me go back. I guess I'll work there now.
Yeah. So like I did a little video of the decisions I made. So I went to Martin Luther Christian School, then I went to St. Joseph. So I went from a Christian to a Catholic school. I've been in uniforms my whole life too. And then my dad had an application for Urban Promise, and he was like, yeah, you're going to this school. And I was like, what? This is why are we going here? I thought you got to go to
How'd
public
you come
school.
up with that?
Yeah, I'm like, I live down the street from the school.
Right.
And then things happen when they're supposed to happen, not when you want them to happen. So everybody's thinking public school and being around those movie high schools.
Right.
And then
that's what I wanted.
Yeah. Miss Rogers, I went. Do you remember the house across from the Urban Building where they used to have high school? I had to take my test in there. And then she did her little arithmetic and math thing, and she was like, you got in. And I was like, oh, cool. What did I get? Because I'm just curious on testing scores. She was like, a 71. And I'm like, what do you need to get in? She's like, a 70. I was like, oh, I guess it's time for me to go to this school. You remember those the job interviews you had to do? They were not regular job interviews. Singing songs, and if you uncomfortable, you got to get real comfortable fast.
Yep.
That's cool. Did you want that to be your first job, like coming at I guess freshman year, or did you want that Burger King, McDonald's job?
I think I wanted to go there.
Okay.
Just because it gives me the other side of urban. Like I had been at the school forever.
Yeah.
But this was like finally like this doesn't have to do with me being in the school with my same like 10 people.
Yeah.
Again, I just wanted more opportunity to be around more people. So this was like, okay, well, can't really do much. Actually, I was still 13, so can't really do much at 13 going into 14. Like, where else am I going to get a job at? So I was just like, okay, I already know urban. Like, but let me give these people a try because they work on the other side of urban. So, I actually I wanted to do it. Yeah,
and I didn't expect, like, it's a job, but, like, there's so many, I guess, dynamics Urban Promise. Like, what was your favorite trip? Is there one that pops in your head?
Not necessarily like going like with them like as my job.
Yeah.
But when I was like on and off as like an after school program kid, we went to Messiah College.
Okay.
And it was an opportunity. They used to do it a lot. It was an opportunity for kids to go and stay with like these college students. Now that I think about it, like how did I pull this one off?
Yeah.
But it was a great experience. Like that was my first time pretty much going to a college, and I probably was like 10. But we got to stay with the college
College?
students. I don't even remember.
Oh, okay.
I really don't remember. I literally just went. Like I said, I wasn't even like in the program like that, but it was like I was there at the time. People were signing up. I'm like, Mom, I can go to this college. Like, she's like, you going with Urban Promise? I'm like, yeah. And she was okay with it just because it was urban. But that trip is probably one that like stuck with me the most, just because one, it was my first exposure to college, but it was fun.
Gotcha.
It was just fun.
Cool. Did any of your family members go to college, or that was like your first introduction?
I did have family members that went to college.
Okay.
Like I have some older cousins that went. Not a lot of them. So I am probably one of like 4.
Okay.
You know, I have like my aunt's a nurse and like different things like that. But not a lot.
Gotcha.
Not a lot at all.
Yeah, my dad always said it's easy to get in, it's hard to finish. And then, so you got all the people, I went to college. Like, wait, where'd your degree at? And they're like, well.
Yeah, my mom, like, I started, she was like, that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So, like, some people have tried and just like, that's not for me. Let me take a different route.
Yeah.
But I don't come from, I would say, like a long line of college graduates.
Yeah.
You know?
I can't think of either. I had some aunts that went, but I wasn't like close with them and had those conversations. Oh, this is college and this is where you should go. It's like, oh, that's your aunt. She went to college, and that was basically the conversation. Yeah, I think Urban Promise was my first introduction with college at Eastern when we used to go take those
I love those trips too.
Summer retreat trips. So after graduation.
High school graduation?
Yeah, there you go. What was going through your mind with like making life decisions and career decisions? Like, do I go to I feel like most people have like 3 options. You could try to be a business person and start your own business and be an entrepreneur, go to the military, or you got college. Yeah. So what was your thought process in making that next decision in life?
I was kind of feeling like all right, you're pretty smart. Like, if you're gonna do something, like maybe it should be college, and like why not try it out? So I literally went to college just because like I think I'll be able to do that. Like, let me just try it out. It was literally just like I wanted to try it. And I guess it was more so about like pushing the limits a little bit. Like, I wanted to see like how far could I take it. You know, I didn't have a bunch of people in my family who went to college. Yeah. But I did have a big support system. They're like, you're really smart. Like, you should go. Like, my family is like super supportive of everything that I do. So I was just kind of feeling like, well, if I'm gonna try college, let me at least try to do it and do it well. So I did. That's why I didn't go to like this huge school or like go super far away, because again, I was just trying it to see if I would make it. Yeah. And it just happened.
Nice. So where did you go?
Rowan
University. Did you apply to any other schools?
I did. Okay. So in high school, we had like the college tours and things like that, and I was going to schools, and I'm like, boring. This is all white people. I don't want to go here. And then going to Rowan, one of the ladies that was working in the office that like ran our like intro session for when we were in high school, she was really down to earth, and she talked about like, you know what I mean, going to school in Camden and things like that. So it kind of felt like home. Yeah. Because it was like, well, I was one of those kids who was just like trying stuff out, and then I ended up going to college, and now here I am, like, you know what I mean, working at this like big office at the university. So I was like, okay, like let me try this school out. It felt more like home, but I felt like that was the most down to earth conversation that I have had, because everybody else at colleges were just like, oh yeah, like basically you can come here or not. Yeah. We have this, we have this, we have this. So if you want to come here, come here. If not, then go to another school. So
yeah. So not only did we work together, and I guess either as camp workers or leadership, we were also roommates. So I feel like
unfortunate. I picked them.
It's all right. But I honestly appreciate you for being my roommate, because I feel like that was a big, like you said, big support system. Not having people you could go to school with, but if you need someone, they're right across the bed and you're like, yo, I need this and I need that.
Or to do it together.
Yeah, can you help me with this? So when you say the big support system, I feel like everybody should have. Try to find at least one person that sees your goals, acknowledges it, and is like, yo, let's go. What are you doing? Why aren't you doing this? And I don't know how, I feel like college would have been regular and okay, but that freshman year of having you there was like, all right, we got to finish this. Because like you said, there's a lot of people that start, but how many people finish? Right. And you want to be that, I guess, leadership in your family where like, yo, I did it. Like,
now you can say it.
Yeah, like, what's your excuses for not wanting to start, go, and finish? Yeah, but it was cool. A lot of good memories.
Yeah, Rowan was dope.
Yeah, shout out to EOF PCI 2K10.
Yes, sir.
We old. I don't want to say I'm old, but just thinking about how fast
We
time
old.
goes. Like my dad always says, once you go through something, you're gonna blink and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I've been saying this. This is a common denominator in my podcast. It took me 6 years to get a 4-year degree, but it was just watching you finish. It was like, oh man, do I need to take that month off or that semester off or that year off? And it's just like, I just tell people nowadays, make sure you take one class. Mm-hmm. Don't just stop completely. Like take that. It might take you 10 years to finish, but in 10 years you're gonna have that degree.
Yeah, again, it's just about like finishing.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of like how long it takes. Like I've seen people like get their bachelor's, then get their master's and things like that. I'm like, why did I wait so long to go back to school? Like, but again, it's your process is your process. I think it still feels good once it's done.
Yeah. Any big memories in college or something that sticks out?
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. You know, I was a party boy, so I was.
We were studious.
It was super fun. And I think that, like, even when I'm talking to my students about it now, it's just like, yeah, like, everyone should go to college. You should try it because that's literally how I ended up in college. Yeah. I wanted to try college. But, like, even if you don't finish, you know, like being there and like having that experience of being able to like say you did it, but also it just like pushes you to the limit of like, let me see what I got. Let me see what I'm made of.
Yeah.
So like I had a lot of fun, but it was also a lot of moments of just like, oh snap, I aced this. Yeah. Oh snap, I wrote that paper. Like, dang, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So
he helped me with a lot of my papers. Because one thing I thank you for Urban Promise is going backtrack. They stick with you. Mm-hmm. As long as you reach out a little bit, they got your back. So like graduating from Urban Promise Academy, they gave us a laptop at graduation. And it's like, we shared that laptop. It was like some nights where it's like, don't want to go to Mimosa with this code out. Like, roomie, let me see that laptop. Yeah. But if you need help with writing skills, I don't know if he still does it, but he might charge a fee and his papers are A1.
It's not my forte, but I am good with it.
I wrote the quality. I wrote the big part, and then he just edited it and made it look clean. One thing I loved about going Rowan and us being roommates freshman year, I don't know if we're supposed to do this, but there's people that didn't go to Rowan that hopped on the shuttle and came to party with us. Mm-hmm. And just that environment of like, some people just need to be in that environment to be like, yo, college is not what they're saying, and you can have fun and do your work and learn things at the same time.
Yeah, and being so close, like being able to like have our friends come up. Like my 55. Friends, my cousins, like everybody was like getting on the shuttle. But you actually got to do the experience together. Like if I would have went to a further school, like y'all wouldn't be able to come up like every week or when there was a party and things like that. Yep. So there's something also special about like us getting to do it together, but like then also getting to do it with our folks. Like we went to school, but now like there's just different opportunity of us like doing it together. Like even though y'all don't even go here, but you still have the Rowan experience because you were always up here with us. So
it's that little spark some
that was
people
definitely
need.
Dope.
Yeah, that was fun. Anything that any teachers that stuck out through your Rowan career? I'm sorry. Look, what you get your major in? Because you say you didn't want to do anything with law.
Nope, sure didn't. I didn't even take a law class when I was at Rowan. I didn't even look their way. So I went to Rowan as a psych major. Okay. Because then I'm like, okay, I kind of want to be a therapist of some sort. Like, let me try this. My psych professor was like the dean of the department, and she just wanted everybody to know it the way she knew it, and I was just like, this ain't gonna work. Mm-hmm. Like, so my like intro to that was just like, I'm not gonna do psych. So I ended up just switching to liberal studies because I'm like, okay, I have to choose something. Okay. And then my focuses were sociology and dance. Gotcha. When you say liberal studies, like what's that mean? It just means that you are still able to get the bachelor's degree, but you don't necessarily have to choose a major. So it cuts down the number of classes that you have to take. Gotcha. So you still have to like choose concentrations. But your degree will be in liberal studies, and then whatever you concentrated on would have just been like, these are most of the classes that you'll be taking. Okay. So do you recommend that degree for someone that doesn't know what they want to do with their career and still go to college? I recommend it if you want to still like be in school but don't really know what you're doing. If you're like, I'm not certain. Like me, I wasn't certain. Mm-hmm. And like turning out to be a teacher, like I should have just been an education major. I don't know why it was so hard for me to figure that out because I wasn't even looking in that direction when I was trying to choose one. But then got right out of school and went to work at a school. So I should have just chosen to be an education major, but it just goes to show like you may not figure it out until you get done. Like I went straight from college to working at a high school when I could have been in college.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, to do something working at a school. So yeah, I think liberal studies is a good route to take.
Okay.
If there's still like doors that'll open for you. Like I just so happen to again have my Urban Promise connections.
Yeah.
To be able to come back, work at the high school.
Big connection.
And then eventually going to a job who would pay for my master's.
Yeah. If someone doesn't know what they want to do with their career, and let's say they go to college, did liberal studies, what you recommend? I guess with your students now, do you recommend community college or it's do what you want to do type of thing?
I would recommend community college, not because like you don't know what you want to do, but just because it's a good like starter. Okay. And going to community college, like one, it opens doors, but two, you can get some of those classes out of the way. They're not as expensive. So like if you can do, like we wouldn't be in so much debt if we would have taken our first set of classes at community college and then transferred over to the university where we would only be paying university fees for 2 years. So for the sake of saving money, like absolutely go to community college first and then transfer over to a university. But if the opportunity presents itself, I'm also not against a student going straight into a university because I like the route that I took. Yeah. So like, yes, community college would have definitely saved me some money, but I enjoyed being at the university for 4 years.
It's okay to go to community college, people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So graduation day of Rowan. So you graduated. Did you have a plan of?
Nope.
See, here's the thing. It's okay not to have plans as long as you doing little side missions or I say not side missions, quests to accomplish things. It's going to be okay. But
no, absolutely no plan whatsoever. Like, it was just like I was like after one thing, you're just like trying to figure out what the next thing is. Literally at graduation, I was just thinking like this party about to be lit. Like, that's literally what I was thinking about because I wanted to celebrate graduating. Had no plan at all. Didn't know where I was about to work. Okay. It was just about finishing. Yeah. So, and I think not having that pressure of what's going to happen right after graduation, which job am I going to have, how much money I'm going to make, like I would have stressed myself out thinking about that, you know what I mean? And not just like trusting the process a little bit. So I was definitely thinking about like, okay, like this party's about to be lit. I knew I was going to do something. I just didn't know what it was and I was okay with that.
Okay. What was the next thing?
Working at UPA.
Okay.
So once I graduated from Rowan.
What year was that?
This was 2014.
Okay.
I graduated from Rowan and then just like looking around for jobs, like not necessarily like anything related to what I was doing in school, just like what would you enjoy doing like right now? So I was looking like
some things you applied for.
I had applied for like entry level jobs at like Xerox and things like that, like jobs you could probably get without having the degree. So I was just applying just to apply because of like word of mouth, like this person works here, that person works there. But then like, okay, my roots were Urban Promise, so like let me see what they're hiring for. And I heard about them having the position like to work in the office at the high school. I'm like, okay, I know Andy. Andy's cool. I could work with him. So I applied for the job. And I got it. I'm like, oh snap! Like it's like big boy job. Like I get to like work in the office, like at a high school. So I was excited about that, and that was like my leap into education. Like that was extremely dope to work.
Was that the same year, 2014?
Yeah, I graduated in May of 2014, and then by the end of August, I was hired to work at the high school.
Nice. What was your position?
I was assistant to the principal. A lot of people were like, oh, like you were the AP. And I'm like, that wasn't the real title, you know what I mean? But I was assistant to the principal. So it was just mainly like office work, attendance, helping out with enrollment. And then it became like I was teaching a developmental skills class. And there was, I don't know, it just like, you know, at Urban, like there's just so much freedom to do different things. So it kind of just became like you kind of become the it person like at the school. Like if kids are having issues or they're getting in trouble, like I'm like first one to be there. So like my role was to make sure like things in the office were done. But there was just a lot of other moving parts in the school. It was just like, I'm gonna be a part of a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's cool. Where do you think, I guess all these lessons plans, because to apply for a job, to get it, and then do you feel as though the psychology liberal arts helped out? Or is this something you just learned along your path of coming to adulthood?
I think the like range of like classes and different things that I had taken, it was just so like preparing you to be with people. Like I said, I was doing sociology, and it was just so focused on like how people are, where they come from, how they relate and react to things. Like, just like, I feel like I could talk to anyone. I feel like I could go into any room and make a connection. So part of it was just being like, because I've been at Urban Promise all my life, like, you just talk to people.
Yeah.
And then going to high school, like, I was extremely social, and even though I was in like the business side of things, it made it easier to talk to people. And then going to college, doing liberal studies, doing sociology and dance, like, naturally, I would just be good at talking to people. So after doing all of that, the classes, the experiences, it was like whatever job I was in, as long as I'm able to be around and talk to people, I could be good at it.
So I would say, would you say you do good under pressure with new positions?
I think so.
Cool.
I think so.
Yeah. So with the being the principal's assistant, what was next after that?
So I was there for, I think, 3 years, and I felt a little stagnant. I'm like, okay, like, this is the job that I got when I was out of college. Like, now what? Yeah. And it wasn't bad at all. Like, I built some amazing relationships with high school students that I still talk to this day. And it was just great to be a part of their lives, like, at that time, but also, like, I was at home doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I started at Urban and I came back, and I'm just like, this place still means a lot to me. And again, being able to talk to people and build connections, like, it still works. Like, you still have that part of you. So then it was just like, okay, like, this was my big boy job, I guess, because I had just graduated college. But now what's the bigger one? Like, what's the next step? So I'll be sitting in my office, like, after I'm like done attendance or whatever. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll start looking for other jobs. Like, let me figure out what else I'm going to be doing. So I was applying at different schools. I applied for like Mastery, KIP, just to like see what else I could do.
Yeah.
Like,
what
again,
type of schools are these?
These are both charter schools.
Okay.
So Mastery and KIP are both charter schools.
Right.
And it was just easier. To
Got you. Were you looking at a certain school district, or?
It was all in Camden.
Okay. Oh, so you wanted to stay home.
Yep. I wanted to stay at home.
Gotcha.
I was going to do anything, especially if it was going to be something that like made an impact or made a difference. I would much rather just say I'd be able to do it at home. So I think that at home feeling has kind of been the trend. Like, I wanted to be at home and doing things that felt like home.
Gotcha.
So I was applying to schools, and I applied to Mastery, applied to KIP, and nothing.
Okay.
Like,
well, like, what was it, titles or?
There were most of them were like dean positions.
Okay.
Dean,
is
assistant dean. They are like in charter school, they're like the disciplinarian.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
That is mainly just like the culture side of things.
Gotcha.
So I had applied and heard back nothing. Like, they would like email back and things like that, but it wasn't really getting anywhere. I just so happened to be like fishing through my email one day, like, oh snap, like somebody wrote me back, and I didn't even know. So it was literally, I was replying like, hey, I know I ain't seen this a couple months ago, but like, y'all still interested?
Was it in the drafts, or not the drafts, the junk mail?
It wasn't in my junk mail. It was in my regular email, and I'm like, why did I never reply to these people? So by the time I got back to them, they were like, well, we're actually not hiring for that, but we do have this position available. And I think I had applied for like paraprofessional or dean or something like that, and they were like basically like trying to like revamp like how they did like deans and assistant deans. So like, we do have an assistant dean available, and this is what it's going to look like. So I'm like, okay, like, I'll try it. What you want me to do? So we did like a video interview and stuff like that, and I'm like, whoa, this is very different from
like
trying
a Zoom,
to get,
like a Zoom call or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, this is very different from like when I was applying at Urban, because again, even though it was a new job, it was all people that I knew already.
Yeah, and it was at Urban. I'm sure it was face to face.
Yeah,
that's one thing I liked about Urban. They prepared you for adult world without realizing it. So when, like, let's say the field soup position, I know you, but you got to sit in front of all the other field soups and answer these questions, whether you know them or not. And you're like, I think that was one of the first times. I don't really get nervous, but when I was like, I think I feel a little bit sweat under my underarm. So you're like, this is what the real world is. But I guess Urban Promise gave you a lot of the opportunities where when you did that interview, it was like, all right, it's another interview. Come on with these questions. Felt like.
I was like,
when do I start?
Exactly. Like, what you gonna ask me?
Yeah.
So I did feel super prepared. But it was still a whole new world.
Yeah.
Just because, like, one, these aren't people that you know. These aren't people that know how you get down or what you do, how you talk. Like, everybody at Urban loved us because we had known them all our lives.
Yep.
So doing the video interview, and I'm like, dang, I'm sitting at the table. Like, why am I sweating? This person's not even here.
Yeah.
Like,
I had a question. When you did this interview, Did you have pants on?
I was just trying to think about that. Like, I might have been in pajama pants.
Okay.
I think I was in like a dress shirt and stuff, but then I'm like, why would I be dressed at the bottom? Like that wouldn't make sense. I'm not gonna stand up.
Yeah.
But I like made it my business to like not angle my camera.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely in pajama pants and a shirt and tie. So we did like the video interview, and I got hired at KIPP. And I'm like, oh snap!
As an assistant dean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to leave Urban. So that was, I don't know, it was a whirlwind of emotions that I didn't even know were going to come. I thought I was just ready to go, like ready to leave. And like students were crying. Wow. And they threw me like a going away party. Like I walked into work and they're like spraying me with all the stuff. And like they had cake and all of this. And it was just like listening to what everybody had to say about, you know, like me being important to them or me just being there. And I'm like, dang, I really appreciate that. So that made the transition hard because I'm like, now I feel like I kind of abandoned my kids.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? We had a good thing going over there, and I wasn't leaving because anything was wrong. It was just like I was ready for another step. I wanted to make more money, and I wanted a new job. And while Urban Promise was home, I had to make the move. Yeah, I had to make the move.
That was my next question. I was going to say, was it the first job that offered you a position you were just going to take? Or was there a tactical way of like, well, I need to make this much money when I take that job?
Nope. If you give me more, I'll take it. If it's more than what it is now, like, I'll take it. It was very much about, like, one, I wanted to, like, you know, step up a little bit, but I wanted to make more money.
Yeah.
That's like, if I probably would have stayed at Urban Promise a whole lot longer, but it's a nonprofit organization, you know what I mean? They can't pay you millions of bucks, so I was okay with like taking that step. Like I said, it was difficult, but I wanted to go. Nice. And then I ended up at KIPP, and I'm like, oh snap! I probably should have stayed at there.
Yeah. So, assistant dean, how was taking that position?
So at the time, they wanted an ISS babysitter, and I didn't know that that's what I signed up for.
What's ISS?
In-school suspension.
Oh.
So it is every kid that has either done something wrong or is out of uniform or doesn't listen.
Oh, they hit you with
the
okey-doke.
They go into the room with you all day long. Wow. So it's just more so about like, be quiet, do your work, be quiet, do your work. And that was the dynamic for a while. And I'm like, that's not me. I said I wanted to be able to talk to people. I wanted to be able to do stuff. I cannot sit here all day, shut up, do your work or else. Mm-hmm. That's not how I make a difference. That's not what I told you that I was good at. So while my interview went really well, I was appreciative of the job. I was talking to the principal and I'm like, look, we need to figure something out. Like there needs to be like some type of bridge between like teacher and student because this isn't working. I didn't know y'all wanted an ISS babysitter because it said assistant dean. So I'm not going to be able to swing this. Like this is just not me.
So you could say you were no longer happy?
Yeah.
Even though they paid you more?
Yep.
Okay.
Nope. I was
the
not happy.
grass is not green on the other side, people. Remember that.
There were benefits to having that conversation because I was an assistant dean and she was like, well, then I was already thinking about like what you're saying about like bridging the gap between like teacher and student and thinking about like creating this new position, but like you're not really sure like how to frame it or like what to do with it. So we had more conversations. She's basically like, you know, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, we have students that may act a certain way, respond a certain way, or need certain supports. You can't necessarily get that when you have one teacher in the room that's teaching 27 other students.
Yeah.
So who's the support person? They can't go straight to the dean because that's for discipline. Yeah. So where's the conversation that's being had to figure out, get to the root of the problem and things like that. And we created this behavior specialist role. And she was like, well, you know what I mean? I think you'd be great to do that because you already love talking to kids. You know what I mean? You could actually bridge the gap. And this would be a great opportunity to get some kids that may have been not able to say what they needed to say or not able to advocate for themselves in the right way. But they kind of get a voice. So now they get to connect with someone. It's like, oh, this is what's happening. Okay, you can go back to class. Let me just have a conversation with the teacher because they actually just didn't understand what was going on. That was what actually caused them to lash out. So the behavior specialist role was born and she was like, well, we need a team.
Nice.
So I became the first behavior specialist and I was able to get all of my friends that were at Promise. I'm like, all right, there's a job open, y'all. Like, let's do this. Like, they asked me for a team and I'm going to build one. So it became myself and then like 5 or 6 of my friends that I do from Urban Promise, and we became the behavior specialist team at KIPP.
Nice. Take care of your people.
So that was
Take
dope.
care of your people. That's
awesome.
Dope. How'd you feel about that? Where like that whole, where you left Urban Promise, you felt that, I guess that gut feeling, and now you go somewhere, you're like, I don't like this, and then boom, we're going to make a position for you.
Yeah, it felt good. Because at first we're just like, this ain't going to work. Like, I'm going to leave. I'm pretty sure Urban Promise will take me back with open arms. I'm going to lose the pay, whatever, but, you know, I'll get a second job. So having that conversation with her, knowing that like she was on the same page, like, yes, I do think there needs to be something else.
Nice.
Do you want to be that something else? So being able to recognize that there was something else needed in the school, and then her being willing to make it a position, trusting me with the position, trusting me to pick the people that would be in the position, it felt good. And I don't think back then I was thinking like, oh, snap, like I was the first to do this.
Yeah.
And this is important. It didn't feel like that back then. It was just like, okay, good, I get to keep my job.
Yeah.
Like I get to stay here, but also like I get to try something else and I can come out of the ISS room.
That's cool.
So that was dope.
Nice.
That was dope.
So when going through all these, I guess, phases of emotions and making adult decisions or adult careers, did you have someone you talk to, or is this your own type of road and I guess learning as you go?
I've always had my folks, like my friends.
So you always just go back to them.
It was good, especially when I got them to come to KIPP. It was like, that felt good because I was no longer the only person here. It really felt like, okay, I don't know any of these people. I don't know how. I'm still in Camden and really, don't know about anybody here.
Yeah.
So there were very few people that I was like talking to or interacting with, and they were cool. But it felt good. Like once my people were in the building, that's, again, felt like home.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to name the title of this podcast.
It felt like home.
It should feel like home or something like that.
Yeah.
So after creating, what was this position called?
Behavior specialist.
Behavior specialist or behavior specialist lead, because you said you was in charge. What was next? Are you still that title? Okay.
Nope. So after behavior specialist role was born, I took that and got people hired. They started implementing it at other schools. So then we had other friends like Pookie, who was at another school, as a behavior specialist. So then there was a day that like a teacher was like having an issue and she had to like step out. And I got in the class and I'm like, okay, there's a bunch of kids looking at me. They still need to do math. I'm like, all right, so constant proportionality, and got on the board and just like started like going with it. And they like, Mr. Nelson, you know math? I'm like, I do actually. And that was good. So she came back in the room after like handling what she had to handle. And the kids are like, she ain't need to leave. He needs to teach math. And like, no shade to her at all, but it was like, oh snap, like I could be doing this. Like if I wasn't doing the behavioral side of things, like I could actually be teaching. And my principal had already like put the bug in my ear, like, you should probably get in front of kids full time. Like, yes, we can navigate the conversations. Yes, it would be good to have someone advocating for them, but like we've built that team. Like when you're ready, let me know. Like, because I would love to have you in front of kids. Again, another way to make more money. So she was like, if you want to teach, like, I think you should. And I'm like, okay, if I teach, it'd be anything, it just has to be math. I can't do anything else. I want to teach anything else. Has to be math. And of course, I don't teach math.
Nice. I was tracked. So wait. You went from legal assistant to wanting to study psychology, or is it sociology?
Psychology first.
Okay, psychology, sociology. Then we became an
assistant dean.
Assistant. No. Before. The
assistant
vice
principal.
Yeah. Where did math come into play?
Because I was like, if I'm gonna teach anything, it has to be something I'm good at. Okay. I can't go in and teach nothing that I don't know. So I'm like, wow.
Have you always been good at math?
Yeah. Okay. English was like, I would say like was a strong suit because like I was a good writer and I was good with just like doing that well. It wasn't something that I like necessarily enjoyed. I was just good at it. But I'm like, if I would teach anything, it would have to be math. Gotcha. One, I had already got that good feeling about math because when the teacher had to step out, I started teaching math. I'm like, okay, if I were doing anything, it would have to be math. So COVID hit and then like the school was about to like close down. We were going to be at home and things like that. And it was like the perfect opportunity to start grad school. So my principal was like, well, you can start teaching now and then you could be in grad school. We pay for it.
We say that again?
Yeah, they paid for it.
They paid for the master's program.
So my first time teaching full-time was online.
Nice.
I taught 8th grade math.
Is that nice? It's like online. Your first time?
It was good only because I had been a behavior specialist before. And I looped up with my kids. That was just something we were trying. I'm like, if I had these kids in 6th grade, I want to go with them to 7th. By the time they got to 8th grade and we went into the pandemic, I was already teaching math. So it's the same kids that I had already had for the last 2 years. So any kid that was a behavioral concern or kids that were like hard to get online, I already had a relationship with them and their parents. So it was extremely easy to make sure that everybody was online. Wow. So it just worked.
I was just about to ask that. If you need behavioral sport teams in the classroom, how does it work online? But with that relationship, you really didn't need them.
I didn't need it because that's what I had been doing for the last 2 years. And by the time I transitioned over into teaching, that was the class that I started with as a behavior specialist. So I did behavior specialist for like 2 years. Then by the time I was ready to go back to school and start teaching, even though it was easy because I was all online.
Yeah.
So I worked with those kids and I was teaching 8th grade math. And it was, like I said, it was my first time. But again, it was the kids that I had for the last 2 years, families that I've been dealing with. So even with it being something new, still felt like home. So I was teaching math and I'm like, okay, like this could work. Like when we get back into the building, I guess like I'm gonna be teaching math.
Yeah.
So we got back and it was like hybrid. So like half kids were home, half the kids were in school. And it was almost time to like reopen back up. And some people were just saying like, hey, like, you should go out for leadership. You should go out for leadership. And I'm like, I've only taught for a year. I can't go out for leadership. Like, I haven't even been in the classroom yet.
Yeah. When you say leadership, what do you mean?
Like, so at schools, you could be like the grade level chair. So you could be like team leader 7th grade, 8th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade.
Okay.
So I'm like, I can't lead a team of teachers because I just started teaching. And I just like, that didn't work. They're like, go for it anyway. I'm like, all right. So my first year coming back into the building and teaching, I was 7th grade team lead. So that was like you just keep stepping into these roles that you've never done before, and it's just happening. So I became 7th grade team lead, and I was teaching math. At the time, I still wasn't like certified, and I wasn't done school yet, so I have to work under another teacher. So I was
like shadowing type of thing?
Kind of like the learning support teacher. So I would teach like the smaller groups. He would teach the larger groups.
Gotcha.
Math classes. But as team lead, it was still my responsibility to make sure that my team was strong. Science wasn't strong. And the principal and I had a conversation, and she's like, I know you said you would only teach math, but in order to strengthen your team, I think you should take over science.
Wow.
No. Absolutely not. I don't really know that well. That wasn't even on my list. I said I was good at math and I was good at reading and writing, but I would only want to teach math.
Gotcha.
She's like, but if you want to strengthen your team, you take over science.
Okay.
Because then we could put that teacher in a different position where she would be able to thrive and things like that. So when thinking about like my team, again, and I'm saying like if this is home, you make sure the home is taken care of. So when thinking about like what would be best for my students, they already have a strong math teacher. So me stepping out of math wouldn't hurt them because I was working under him. So they would still be good with math. And I took over science. I did a year of 8th grade math online. And then I did like 1/4 of 7th grade math when I became team lead. So I didn't even teach math in the building for a year. By the time I got into the building and got into my leadership role, I switched to science after a few months. And I didn't know it.
Yeah.
I didn't know it. I was using someone else's lesson plans from a different school. And it felt like I was going home and doing homework every night so I could figure out what I had to teach the next day. And that's where I am now. I am 7th grade team lead at KIPP and the 7th grade science teacher for the last 4 years.
Nice. How'd you get into science? Besides, like, someone telling you, yo, you need to teach science.
Trying to fix my team.
Okay.
Trying to fix my team. I got into it and I like learned the stuff and started teaching it. And I was like, okay, I could get with this. And then they're like, well, it's not going to change. So if you were to teach this, it would pretty much be the same every year.
Okay.
And like not even to like toot my own horn. My kids, like science assessment scores went through the roof. Okay. It was the highest assessment scores the school had since it had opened. So after teaching it for a year and then going into year 2, they're like, listen, you got like 75% of kids, getting mastery or advanced mastery on these science assessments. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm doing something right. Okay, let's keep trying it. And then for the last 4 years, like no lie, we have had the highest assessment scores like in the region, if not first place, then second. Like, of course, there are some schools like in Newark and like the Newark KIPP region that have been taking the same assessments, and it's usually like one school ahead of me. But like on average, like 85 to 90% of my students are either advanced or at mastery or proficient.
Shout out to the 7th grade class of science of Mr. Nelson.
They have been killing it. So we have our first one coming up for this year, and I'm just like, I haven't really done anything differently to be in a position for the last few years, and everything is just like working. Like I'm literally now just changing the dates on my lesson plans and just doing it all over again.
Don't fix what ain't broken.
Yep, and I ain't.
Nice.
I ain't. So science has been working.
Cool. So then you got your master's. What'd you get your master's in?
MAT, so Master's in the Art of Teaching.
Okay.
I went, again, like I said, I was doing math, so I had to like finagle that because I had originally signed up to get a degree, but you still have to pick like, okay, well, what have you been teaching? Because it was a teaching school. I went to Relay. So they need to know what you have been teaching. I'm like, I'm not quite teaching math anymore. So then I had issues with that, and they had withdrawn me from the school and things like that. Like, okay, you're not even eligible to be certified right now. So I had to take some time off of that. Principal was like, well, you're still going to teach. Like, we'll figure it out. But you still had to be teaching. So I took some time off. I ended up going back, finishing. So now I have the master's. And it worked. I went there for math originally, and I just got the master in the art of teaching. So now it's just like I am able to teach from kindergarten up to middle school.
Okay.
In all subjects.
Cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, right now, do you feel as though this is home, or do you feel as something's coming next where you're like,
I think there's always something next, but it is definitely home.
Cool.
It is definitely home. I went to the school feeling like, people had bad things to say about charter schools. Like, they're taking over the Kansas City School District and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, but there's still 400 of our kids that are in that building.
Yeah.
And if we don't get in there and become a part of that, then you're just the chatter.
Yeah.
So, yes, it did kind of feel like, well, why didn't you go to like a regular public school? Why'd you end up going to a charter school? Because there are 400 of our kids in that building, regardless of what you have to say about who's taking over or how you feel about those different things. They are still our kids that are in there. And something that has stuck with me. My principal said it to me. She was like, you said that in your interview. My city, my kids, my responsibility.
Ooh.
And it's still true to this day. Like,
cool.
I was born and raised in Camden. So this is my city. These kids, there are 400 of them in that building. They are my kids. So if there's something positive that's going to happen in that school and to be a part of it, it's still my responsibility. So I don't regret going to KIPP at all. It definitely feels like home. The relationships that I have with kids and families is at an all-time high. Like kids that have graduated, that are in college now and things like that. Like we talk on a regular basis, and it has definitely felt like, yeah, you came here and did the exact same thing that you were doing with those high school students. So then the same reason that I felt like dang, like this feels bad leaving Urban Promise is the same reason that I'm still here. Like I've been through a few different positions and I've met hundreds of kids, and that impact and that feeling of home is very much alive.
Nice. Well, if no one ever told you, I appreciate you and all the things you've done. I appreciate you for sharing your story. Is there any time or point of the decisions you made in life where you regretted something or you wish you could go back and change anything?
If I start back at college, I would have chosen a major. Okay. I would have probably just gone into education. Everything I've done afterwards was all education, so I probably would have done that. I probably would have gone further away for school. Okay. Again, like I appreciate it, and I'm glad that worked for me, and I got to get my family up there, and we got to do college together. But just like knowing what I know now, like there was so much more to see. Yeah. And while I love this feeling of like being at home, I've always been at home. Rowan was 25 minutes from home. Yeah. I came back and worked at home. Yeah. My job now is downtown Camden, home. So I would have just gone further and gotten a different experience. I don't regret any of it, but I do think that changing one decision, like which school I went to, even if I was going to come back home, I would have still been able to go somewhere else and then, see if I could feel at home elsewhere. Cool.
So I would say to the viewers, audience, don't be afraid to go far away from college. Outside of your career and decisions you made, congratulations on your new house.
Thank you.
No problem. How was that decision? I guess going from like an apartment to a house, what factors played a role into it's time to make this next move?
The apartment costs too much. The apartment costs too much, and I literally pay $100 more for a 3-bedroom house. Okay. Like it just wasn't making sense. I went there paying a certain amount. By the time I moved out, it was almost $500 more than when I first got there. Oh wow. So that played a factor. It was just like, but you accumulate a whole bunch of stuff and you just kind of outgrow the space. But then to think about like how much I'm paying, I'm like, I'm paying house prices for an apartment. So it was time to go. Gotcha. But moving is a task.
Yeah, but as long as you got the support system, I've seen everybody saddled up and was like, let's get him up and moving. Cool. Can you share a defining moment in your teaching career that solidified your passion for education?
I think realizing that my kids were scoring high, I think that was definitely one of those moments. Just like, oh snap! I remember having the conversations with them, like, yeah, I don't really like science that much. It's just a class that I have to take, and just knowing like that is the narrative. Like kids don't really bang with the STEM field. Like it's just there. I have to take the classes, but it's not necessarily like, oh, I thrived in this. So when seeing those scores, kids are like, oh snap, and I'm like, yeah, this is just a reminder of like when you actually put some effort into things, like. You could end up with a result that is much larger than what you've imagined. So you came here like, now that's kind of my thing when I start my classes every school year. Just like, you may come here feeling like, I don't love science or this wasn't my favorite thing, but you're going to leave here feeling like, if I wanted to take this route, I could.
Nice. What's your favorite, I guess, subject in science to teach or lesson?
Right now we are in rock transformations. And that one's like, kind of boring. I think... chemical reactions is probably one of my favorites.
I'm gonna take it down. Is that like with the volcano stuff?
You take the, I mean, like
vinegar and baking soda.
Yeah, at an entry level, then yes, it is about that. But it's it's about substances changing and becoming new substances. So yes, we talk about that, like that baking soda and vinegar reaction. But then, like, what is actually happening there? So you're actually creating a new substance. So like. In that same token, I do this thing in my class where you may do the baking soda all inside of a balloon, and then there might be vinegar in the water bottle. You put the balloon on top and flip the balloon over, and of course, all the baking soda goes into the bottle, and it inflates the balloon. So, like, yes, there's a chemical reaction happening. You see the bubbles and things like that, but why is this balloon now filled with a gas? They're like, well, I don't really know. That is the chemical reaction. Something else was released while these two things combined. So then it's like, just getting to have a different conversation about it.
Yeah. So I was like, we should have did that. We should have did that here.
So it's dope. It's
cool.
Dope. But that was a defining moment, seeing kids like do extremely well. And then like, of course, like relationships that I have with students like outside of the classroom. Those are an integral part of why I continue to do what I'm doing.
Cool. The transition and your answer just is ready for the next one. Middle school can be a tough time for students. How do you approach building relationships with students during this transitional phase of their lives?
I meet them with love all the time. There are some kids that come to school with baggage that I know nothing about, and whether I've experienced it or not, this is still a kid that I am just meeting. And I think that it's much easier to get someone to hear you when they feel like you care. So it could be a kid like lashing out, and they may be disrespectful to every teacher and things like that. Like, I'm gonna let you know that I love you already just because you're in my class.
It's a strong word.
It's not that I won't tolerate what you're doing. It's that I expect nothing but excellence from you. So even if you are having a tough time, we can talk about that. But my expectation is that you are your best self when you come in here, and if all you can think about or spew out is negativity, you're not being your best self. You're like, dang, Mr. Nelson, I didn't think about it like that. I'm like, yeah, and I'm literally only saying this because I love you, because if I didn't, then you wouldn't be able to get like, I can't have you in my class acting a fool, but I'm willing to listen, you know what I mean? But you got to be willing to work. So if you put in the effort, then I can take the time to have a conversation with you. But if you can't show up as your excellent self, then maybe we need to have a different conversation. So like the expectation is extremely high. But again, kids will listen to you if they feel like you care.
Yeah. I feel like I can answer this question for you, but the next one is, what impact do you feel you have on your students as a role model, but not only being a role model, especially being one of a few Black male educators?
I want them to just feel like, well, Mr. Nelson did it.
Yeah.
Mr. Nelson did it. Nice. Like, why can't I? So I go in when I'm introducing myself. Good morning, everybody. I'm Mr. Nelson. I am your 7th grade science teacher. Just a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Camden. I went to this school, went to that school, did this, and now here I am. So I don't want it to feel like I am far removed from where you are. You know what I mean? I lead with, I was here, I was there, and now I'm here in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. Wait, what part of Camden are you from? You know what I mean? So, because sometimes you be like, oh, are you from Philly? Or did you come from here? This is where all the other teachers are from, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I actually grew up 10 minutes from here.
Nice.
I probably went to high school with your mom. You know what I mean? And it's, you know what I mean? That's the case for a lot of students. So, yeah, I just want them to feel like even if this is not the route, you might not want to be a teacher, but we have to be careful about what we say the norm is.
Yeah.
If we're saying that like, oh yeah, maybe a lot of people don't go to college from here. Why is that the norm for students? You know what I mean? We are closing doors before they even have a chance to talk about them. Mm-hmm. So I think the narrative in classrooms and in homes just needs to change. Even if not everybody's going to college, we have to talk more about opportunities. So I'd want them to see like Mr. Nelson did it, but also like there are things that I could be doing even if I'm not taking this route.
Nice. So with your education, I feel like you're taking on more roles than just teaching science. So the question would be, how do you maintain a healthy work-life balance given the demands of teaching?
Well, now, like I said, I'm at a point where I'm just like changing dates because I can just turnkey my lessons. But I think that you got to keep doing stuff that you love, so it doesn't like feel like work all the time. Like people are saying, like, why are you still here? Why do you stay after school? Why do you do this activity? Like you ain't tired of this place? Like you're always here. And it's because it feels like home. Yes. Where you can go to work and feel like you're at home. Where you can have a long day and still be okay with going back to work because it feels like home. You know what I mean? There's something special about the cup not ever fully emptying. Mm-hmm. You know, like I could have the longest day. Like the other day, one of the teachers was out, and I literally did every period. I did all of my classes. I did his gym class. Wow. I did, the I Ready block. So I literally didn't have a break. I didn't even use the bathroom that day. And I'm like, dang, this was a long day. But it just felt like I felt more accomplished than I did tired.
Gotcha.
Just because I got to do all the things that I needed to do that day and then do other things. So I wouldn't say I have a healthy work life and home life balance because I'm always like doing work stuff. But I think that as long as we put ourselves in positions to do things that we love or that feel like home, it's a little easier to balance because I'm okay with working a lot because I love what I do.
Cool. Last question. Are there any changes you think there should be done in the educational system?
I don't know. But I do think there needs to be more teachers that look like our students. Like, of course, there are plenty of Black teachers. There are plenty of Hispanic teachers. And there's something special about that experience in class. Kids being able to speak the same language as a teacher. Like, we have a Hispanic teacher who started and she joined us, and it's great. She'll come in and, for those kids that, maybe they don't speak, maybe English isn't their first language and things like that. Like, she is from Camden. She speaks Spanish. And it's just like that enough. It's just like, imagine how that would feel like finally someone in class that's like me. So I think there's a lot of stuff like in the school system that like could be changed. But I'm actually okay as long as the people that are in front of the kids are doing what needs to be done. So the more Black teachers, the more impactful teachers, even if they're not Black, at least come in and give a damn.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you can come in and give a damn, like that's half the battle. Because now a kid already feels like this person at least cares about me. So I'm more willing to learn from them. So I think we just need to pay attention to the people that we're putting in front of kids. Because if we're saying that like, oh, these are the leaders of the future or the leaders of tomorrow, and you have someone in there that doesn't really care about what's happening today, then they're not really setting those kids up for success. So we just need to continue to strengthen the education system because kids have to learn forever.
Yeah.
So that means that good people need to be in front of them forever.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, dog.
I know you do a lot of things with your classroom and you have an Amazon. How can people reach you? Just maybe if they have a science question. Mm-hmm.
So my teacher Instagram is What's Good Nelson. No caps, no spaces, no punctuation. It's just What's Good Nelson. That is what I use. That's where I post things that I'm doing with my students.
Cool.
That's usually how you can see what's happening in my classroom. But I'm on my phone every day. I get the notification. So if there's any questions or anything, I'm always available.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.